We spent 20,000 hours in the last 8 years finding out the real truth about how governments operate and what happened in this. We sent a lot of letters. We did a lot of research. We talked to a lot of people. We have tried to keep the government accountable single-handedly. We went to the NDP with all our information. We did a petition in the beginning in 2014 for them to bring up in the legislature, and they never did. We've been really the opposition party in this. We provide a lot of information to the public. We've gained a lot of trust with our information. We kept this alive, and as a result of that, there was a large disclosure of the GTH scandal by CBC. So when we look at what happened there, where they needed 54 acres for the Regina Bypass, and they could have purchased the land from the nuns, the Order of Nuns, for $5,000 to $6,000 an acre, and what they're paying everybody else in the area, but instead, they waited till Robert Topoff came along, who just happened to rent land to the minister of the GTH, Bill Boyd. And he made $6 million simply by flipping the land with an offer to purchase. Didn't even buy the land, didn't even go through land titles. But it didn't end there. Then we have another local businessman, Anthony Marquardt, actually bought the land. He bought 204 acres of land and paid. And he ended up receiving $21.1 million for this land by an order in council signed by Brad Wall. And when you look at that, how can something so wrong happen and that nobody's paying attention? We went to the RCMP with our information. We have over 10,000 pages of information, of files that we've collected, conversations, transcripts of conversations. We went to the RCMP, met with them 3 times, and provided them with over 3,000 pages of information. They did an investigation. What came out of the investigation was they dismissed the entire application, or they dismissed the entire investigation, saying that they spent 7,500 hours. They spent over 2 years, and they relied on the information freely provided to them, that they didn't meet the threshold to subpoena evidence. And they shut down the entire file. They didn't even investigate the Tower Road. They only simply investigated superficially the GTH. When you look at the logic of it and say, well, at least they should have did a forensic audit, because there were so many factors that pointed there was something absolutely wrong with this. You end up wondering, how does something so wrong happen in the 21st century? It's like highway robbery back in the Wild West days, where the robbers would take over a stagecoach, steal the loot, kill the driver, and make off like bandits. Back in Grand Divine era, there was a scandal. It was termed the biggest scandal in Canadian history. It was less than $1 million was taken by different MLAs, petty cash stuff, up to $40,000, $50,000. Yet, when the NDP got in, there was an inquiry, and 11 MLAs were charged criminally. In Maclean's Magazine's in their article said it was the biggest scandal in Canadian history. Here you look at the Regina Bypass, it's $2 billion. And no one gets charged? And Brad Wall, Premier of Saskatchewan, most popular Premier, cuts and runs in the middle of his term. Bill Boyd cuts and runs. Kevin Doherty, the Minister of Finance, they leave. Now, what common denominator do all three of these people have? They had connections with the Grant Devine government. Brad Wall was a runner for Premier Grant Devine. Bill Boyd was in the cabinet. So how does that look for our province when you have these influential people cut and ran? Why did they go? Why didn't they stay and get us back on track again? Instead, Brad Wall put a 6% PST tax on construction and service industries, which created turmoil and put us into a recession. It killed the construction industry. It hurt a lot of the service industries because they had wasted $2 billion in the Regina Bypass, so they had to make up the money somewhere. So here we are now, and we have a government that has sat for 14 days this year. 14 days, part-time. It's like if you didn't go to work for the first 350 days, how long would you have a job? How long would you have a business? Yet here we have the government who makes the decisions. They run the business of Saskatchewan. Financially, economically, budget, health, education, everything. Every man, woman, and child is impacted by what our government does or doesn't do. And they're working part-time. When running for Premier, Gord Wyand and Tina Beaudry said that they would do a public inquiry into the Regina Bypass to clear the air. But why didn't they? Well, Gord Wyand ended up getting a deputy position. And here we are. Scott Moe said, it's not our policy to open up the file. It's been the most investigated project ever in Saskatchewan. So when you look at the integrity of government and you think, why wouldn't they clear the air? Why wouldn't they do a public inquiry? Why wouldn't they tell the truth? Are they afraid? Afraid of the truth?